Hey guys, Veebat here with another V-Plays, and we are looking at the Bf-109 E3. Now, I may be one of the few people that enjoyed flying the Bf-109 line, and this is the premium version, Tier 5, that is available episodically in the premium shop. And the reason I really wanted to get this is because I got the pilot Hans Weber. It's a very particular aircraft commander or pilot that has special skills that go along with the airframe. Now, what is this 109 compared to any of the others? Well, it doesn't actually have a hub gun, believe it or not, but it does have two synchronized machine guns, and then it also has 20mm cannons in the wing, and it is a 109, so the thing gets pretty decent altitude performance, but we've also got a lot of buffs going into its maneuverability as a result of this pilot. And we can see here, yep, it's two 7.92 machine guns, so nothing super spectacular here, but let's go ahead and see what she can do against some of these heavy aircraft. Since we are an altitude fighter, this allows us to be able to intercept heavy fighters fairly easily. And we actually have a special skill on this pilot that allows him to be able to dive on targets and get a extra effect on gunning down aircraft from above. So we get like a death from above type of thing going on. Now, there's the pilot down here. There it is, death from above. Let's see if we can zoom in on this target and get these guns to sing on him. Whoa, okay. Almost ate our friendly aircraft there, but you can see we're pretty nimble, fairly maneuverable. And it seems to come back fairly quickly. That's nice to have. Ooh, Clunker was out. It looks like he's back now. Let's go ahead and see if we can get on him. He's going to be at a pretty good altitude. I really want to keep this sight. So let's kind of adjust our angle so we come at him a little bit more shallow. I've adjusted the microphone positioning. I think that was the issue from last video, is that it was too far away from my face.
Our military base is launching strikes on the enemy. This will make things easier.
Alright, we started to stall out. We are getting well above the altitude we should be operating at. Let's go ahead and get the heck out of Dodge, realizing that this bomber is at way too high a height. He is way too high to be effective. I do have some heavies here. AA is coming in on him. I'm willing to bet he'll be just fine. Taking out that center sight is going to be quite a difficult endeavor for him, I'm willing to bet. Let's head towards the enemy military facility and see how that goes. I'm a little bit worried about that Key 61. There we go. IL-2, no tail gunner. Oh, looks like my ally just rammed into the ground attacker. That is not good for me.
The enemy is launching rockets at us from the military base. Take action.
Yeah, I see ya. One down. Yeah. P61 coming in hot and fast. We're fighting alone. That's never really advised, but the nice thing is I think we pulled one of the most dangerous dogfighters they have available into the middle when we still have a heavy, two heavies, two ground attackers, and a bomber over their site. This thing's turning out to be fairly maneuverable. I really didn't even look at the stats. I was just excited to get into battle. The altitude limit is not as good as I would have liked. The nice thing about having these unique pilots is they get some interesting skills associated with them, but the downside is going to be your typical downside. The downside is the fact that you're spending a lot of points on those special skills.
Receiving reports about rapidly deteriorating weather conditions. Support will be unable to reach you. Do you read me? Over.
I was pretty sure we'd be able to outrun him. It looks like I'm correct in that assumption. Still got two heavies over this site.
We cannot support you any longer. The storm is too heavy. Do you copy? Over.
The 61 is back. This is not a good sign for us. We're behind on zones. Not what we're looking for.
Keep it up. Victory is almost ours.
Alright, looks like we've got enough zones now. Alright. it looks like it's pretty much the end of the battle at this stage. We do have a pretty good lead. There's our 800 points. Now let's get back to the hangar, and I want to compare the stats of this aircraft to the non-premium version, the Bf-109 or Emil. Now, we already know that we're lacking a hub cannon. The Emil is going to get that hub cannon, and you're going to see a pretty substantial damage increase as a result of that. But first, let's take a look at how we did here. It wasn't a bad result. We managed to get first place, and we got the Kazuda medal, which allows us to be able to get our ticket for the day. We killed 10 aircraft. We only died once, and we got 4 while defending a zone, so that's good. 9,000 combat points. That's not bad. 9,700. Overall, I'm relatively pleased with it. It's a pretty good airframe. I do like having an altitude fighter. That's good to have. But let's compare these guns real quick to the non-premium version. You can see that we're pumping out pretty decent damage numbers here, but when you compare it to these guns, you'll see that this gets a 15mm hub cannon that's doing 80 damage, and then these other 20s are doing 67 damage apiece, which means that you're losing 14 damage a second on the cannon, the 20mm cannons alone, and then you're losing another 80 damage per second compared to the autocannon 15. There we go. Let's arrange it. E3 and then the Emil underneath. So you are lacking, and those 20s actually get a higher rate of fire and a little bit more range when it comes to the Emil as well for the 20s. So they're losing there as well. But the 792s are identical, so we're not losing anything when you compare those two. But when you look at the overall damage numbers, we're sporting a 196 damage per second on this airframe. Now compare that with the Emil, and we're losing a total of 94 damage per second. When you're looking at the grand scope of things, that's roughly 50% of our damage less than what you're going to get with a non-premium version. But this is a premium aircraft, so there are some benefits to be had. So first which is going to be training and credit incomes. So that's always good. But we do have Hans in here, Hans Weber, so we'll take a look at him in a second. You'll see here, though, when we do a comparison between the two airframes, a direct comparison, you'll see that for airspeed, I'm assuming that we don't have the engine upgrade on this version of the Emil on the left, but you see there's room to grow underneath the airspeed. I'm willing to bet they're comparable airspeeds, and they both have the same speed while diving at 466, so that isn't bad at all. So that's good. When we look at the maneuverability, they are both the same, even with the equipment I have on this airframe. So I'm willing to bet the Emil can be even more maneuverable than this airframe, so we're losing out there. And then the altitude performance is identical, but you're going to notice a distinct difference in climb rate. Again, though, the Emil we're looking at here doesn't have the engine upgrades, so you're just looking at a lesser version of the Emil, and that's really the comparison between the two platforms. Other than that, there isn't much to see. Again, we know the Emil is going to have more damage output than we will. What's really important, however, is looking at Hans Weber here. He has the skill Bf-109 E3 Master, which allows him to get an increase in airspeed and damage by 10%, but only when he's flying this airframe, which kind of stinks because now we've used 2 points already, so we're already at a 2-point pilot. He came as a 7 skill pilot, but then another 3 of those points went into this nosedive skill. Now we saw that proc a few times in the video. That increases our damage by 10%. It also increases our critical chance and our fire chance by 50% while it's procced, which is a nice little bump. But you're still only looking at about 20% damage increase if these combine together instead of being cumulative. So you're still not matching the damage output of what you'd see with the 109 Emil, but you're getting some comparable damage numbers. Now you'll also see on here I've got Marksman 1 queued. I got Marksman 1 queued on here because I wanted to make sure that those 20mm cannons mounted on the wings were making contact, because that's where a lion's share of our damage is coming from. And are not even close to being synchronized with the propellers, so we want to make sure that we're getting good contact in order to keep ourselves competitive, like that Emil that's out there that isn't running with a loss of a hub cannon. So let's keep ourselves in a good spot. Originally I thought this was a maneuverability perk here, this E3 Master, but it is not. Taking a look at our equipment options, we have opted to go with the collimator sight, which allows us to be able to get those cannons on the wings on target even more effectively. We also went with lightweight wing frame to keep this thing relatively nimble, and you saw even with that we were still comparable to the Emil. We also went with the uprated engine. Allows us to be a better altitude fighter, and we went with all the standard consumables to be able to get our aircraft back up to 100% fighting capacity, because you lose that pilot, you lose those control surfaces or that engine, and a lot of your advantages goes right out the window. We also have universal ammo on this aircraft as well, and combining all of that with the ability to put marksman on this platform allows us to be able to ensure we're getting that damage that we want out of this airframe, because again, we're going to be lacking compared to the Emil, and that's what we want to try and get ourselves back up to, because overall the platform of a 109 is a really strong contender for going up to those higher altitudes, getting up to those airspeeds, and really wreaking havoc in its altitude block. But that pretty much wraps up this kind of unique premium aircraft. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you on the next one.